I get that, but is we live though? Is we like all the way live though?
We is.
You
Indeed
did?
we is. Yeah, I mess with that. I mess with that new intro, man. This is the constantly improving, you know, always illustrious. The space where the vulnerable are powerful and the most gangster thing you could do is serve. This is all the way live. What up?
You know what it is, man. You know what it is. Listen, Miles, this is my flu game right now. If you can hear, there's a little bit of congestion going in, but it don't matter because what we do on this show every week is we come through and we give these people a show. We give these people a show about carefully curated content for their cranium. We take things, topics, and ideas that people care about. We apply ourselves to them. We apply our time to them. And then we bring them over here to the show for the sole reason. Only one reason, and Lord knows I've been looking for these types of reasons throughout my week, that even if we can be, even for a small moment, bro, like a little piece of happiness for somebody, you know what I'm saying? Like if we can even be like just a moment that makes somebody's day better, that improves somebody's day, because we know people is going through it. And that's why we do the show over here, man. So welcome absolutely everybody to the All the Way Live podcast. If it's one person, 10 people, 10,000 people, 10 million people, it don't matter to us. It's two pens weighing this. Let's go.
That's right. It's two pens away. You cannot congest the content. With that in mind, so I need you to check your audio settings. Make sure you're coming through the mic crispy, the way we supposed to, man. Because we can't have Exeter not be in the building as thoroughly and as crisply as possible. You know what I'm saying? So check that out.
Look. I ain't even got to do it again, but I let people know this from the jump, that me and my brother Miles absolutely appreciate everybody that tunes into this show. It's a pleasure to do this show. It's a pleasure to be speaking to people. It's a pleasure to have this continuous growth. Welcome to the show again, man, on a more clear audio experience.
That's right. Proper. So Exeter is in the building. Proper. Chicago is in the building. Proper. This podcast is recorded on stolen property. You know what I'm saying? You like how I did that right there? Recorded on stolen
property. That's what you did.
You know?
Miles stole the building that he's in.
Hey, man. Quiet as it's kept, man. Thank you. And that, on this episode, concludes the fictional portion of the All the Way Live podcast. Continuing to the actual portion of the podcast. This podcast is actually factually filmed on stolen property, filmed on stolen land. Chicago is actually factually in the building. This land that constitutes Chicago, that constitutes the United States in many places, right, was lived on by Potawatomi people. And the violence done to remove them from that land is inseparable from the violence that we see in our city today, our country today, and in our world today. So with that, we always lift up love for Black and brown people the world over. We lift up love for Native American people the world over. That's how we end the intro. That means that's over. I'm so excited to get into the show with my brother, man. What we got going on today?
Listen, man, before we get into anything else, we got to get right into Stumble Upon. So let's let people enter this section of the show.
Yo, the kids official sliding on the instrumental. Nordic combos, twist your mental like forbidden jitsus. My click's initial with the...
Hey, man, look, this part of the show, Stumble Upon, we trying to hear what y'all's trying to say, man. So we checking out the comment section. If anybody's trying to say something to us on the comment section, let us know. We look and say what's up. Let us know what's happening. Let us know what you guys want us to talk about, and we'll get into it, right? We'll get into it. One of the things, Mr. Miles Xavier, that was brought to us to discuss, which is an issue that is near and dear to my heart. Say, for instance, right, we've both been in a situation where you're with a special somebody, you're in a relationship, and that relationship then ends. The relationship ends, whether it's amicable in some instances or terribly, as in most of the instances that you've been a part of. What didn't happen? The question is, how long do you keep talking to an ex after you've broken up?
I think your question alludes to the answer, right? It depends on how amicable the breakup is. And contrary to popular belief, actually, my breakups have all been like very amicable in the sense that there was a lot of conversation to end it. There was probably in more instances actually probably leaning too far, too much closure, too much of, this is how I feel. How do you feel? How do you feel? How do I feel? Until the feelings really faded. But just to be able to have those conversations, I think is a better situation than people getting cut off or feeling like, they were wrong, they didn't get to talk about it, didn't get to, have accountability. So yeah, it's never comfortable, but I think it depends on how you leave things off with that person, how much y'all can and should talk after that.
I see that because like I can see that my brother is very eloquent in how he describes things, so I have to be vulnerable, take it upon my shoulders, even though this is my fluke game, and use this platform to be super transparent about things. I'm trying to text my ex, man, but I'm trying to be very cool about it. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to be very cool about it. But then it led me to look back, right, at the different relationships that I've been in. And over time, as time has matured, I've gotten to a point where I've been able then to have these amicable separations, right? Coming out of a situation where nobody leaves particularly hurt on bad terms. It's just a very mutual and amicable split, which is a cool thing to have. But then
That's
those
good.
lines. Thank you, brother. Thank you.
That's fire. Like that's not an easy thing to do. I don't want to just gloss over that. Like there's a lot of emotions. If you are really with somebody, if it's not, I don't know about all that, but like if it's if you're really with somebody, right, and both of you are emotionally invested, to be able to separate and continue on with a any type of relationship without animosity, that takes a lot of communication. That takes a lot of investment of time and energy to making your feelings make sense. So I didn't want to just gloss over the fact that you've been able to do that.
That's real. And how I was able to get there, no cap, right? Like I've been a person that has lied and cheated in many of relationships before, and then
Testify. Brother's Way has come forth in front of the congregation to let everyone know his sins. Brother's Way, we appreciate you. You're a brave man. Let us know. Lies, cheating. What else?
I've been a liar. I've been a cheater.
Well,
I've been a hoe.
A whole what? You've been a whole what?
A whole hoe, my nigga. But the thing about it, right?
You're you the lifeline. You just cut it. That's beautiful.
But how it ended up getting to a place where it's amicable is that learning from those past relationships and how bad those splits have been, being like, all right, cool, let me get into this relationship where I'm an honest person, where focusing on communication, not cheating, not holding around, like a completely faithful relationship down to the book, right? So in investing that type of honesty into that relationship, by the time when it was time to end, the reasons for it ending were outside of infidelity, outside of lies, and it opened up for a space where people could where we could both look at the relationship, be like, damn, we've had a really good run. Outside circumstances are leading to us to have this split. But then after that, right, you don't want to keep being the same person that keeps texting you don't want to keep texting your ex. You also don't, because my fear, right, this is real talk. This is, and I can tell there's some people that are live over here. So come on in, family.
Give it to us.
My big fear.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to be the dude texting an ex while she's out with another dude. I don't want to be that ex.
Okay. So I think there's so many different interesting conversations here. And I think not to summarize too quickly, but I think in determining like when should you text your ex is thinking about what are you texting for? Right? Is it just solely because you need some type of reassurance, or is it because you're trying to open a line of communication for both people to be able to exchange, right? Are you anticipating a very specific response? Are you hoping for a very specific response? Are you only texting because you hope for a very specific response for your ex? Or are you opening a dialogue where you think some healing can take place? That's one conversation. Another conversation that I think a lot of us need to have with ourselves is, who is this voice? Who is this person that's keeping track of all the times we are a sucker in a situation? You know what I'm saying? I think that
Yo,
is a lot of... Go ahead.
that inner black voice shows itself up in many instances because I remember. I
I was
remember.
about to say that. I don't know if it's just a black thing, but if it's for sure a black voice in my head. That's like, bro.
In my head, it's a black voice. I don't.
Don't
My
you
my
feel
inner voice is a black voice.
But specifically that voice that says, you know, don't hey man, don't get played. Don't do that, bro. Hey.
But it extends itself past relationships, right? I remember a very specific time. I was driving back with my mom over some other stuff, and we just gone through something that was a very that would make a man cry. You know what I mean? And I thought about I said, "So this would be a great time to cry," and I was warranted to be able to cry. There was all the opportunity. I should have cried, and I tried to cry. Right before those tears came out, that inner black voice said, "Don't be a bitch," and it stopped me from crying. I swear to you, is what my head told myself.
You said in describing that moment that it would have been an appropriate time to cry, but clearly you didn't. Did you feel like that in the moment? Did you feel like this would be an appropriate time to cry, but I'm not going to? Or do you?
No, I tried.
You tried?
I tried to cry, and then that voice said, "Don't you dare."
Do you think that was because you were with your mom, or do you think if you were alone, you would have let yourself cry?
Dude, listen, as black men, we've been conditioned, and that like comes right back into what we're talking about with texting exes, right? Do I think I'm by myself now, and I'm still not letting myself have those texts? Like, and that's the type of person I am, right? If we break up, no cap, I'm not texting. Right? If we split, I'm not gonna text back. I'm not hitting back up. I'm not following up. I'm gonna stalk from a distance.
Wait. Wow. Okay. you said a lot. Wish you would have stopped at the first one. But yo, you said you're not gonna. Do you mean you're not gonna text first? You said you're not gonna text back. Do you mean you're not gonna text first?
I'm not gonna text first.
Okay, but you would text back if they texted you.
Definitely, and I'll engage openly. And if let's say the other person takes the initiative to open up room for that conversation, then I'll go forth. But will I take it upon myself to be the person that does that? No, man. There's women that I love that I still haven't texted in years. That's on ice.
That's on ice. Yeah. So what is I'm gonna switch the word up for your sake and mine and the pods. What does monitor from a distance mean?
Because what did I say? Stalk from a distance.
I'm giving them to them, folks. You see, I'm trying to help. I'm giving them all the chances.
Nah. Don't censor me, man. We're talking to family right here. I mean, stalk from a distance obviously is virtual, not stalk. Okay, let me reword it, right?
Oh man, changing up the word was a good idea. Oh, thanks, Miles.
Appreciate from a mile away. I mean, you know what it is, dude. You checking their Instagram page, seeing how they're doing, seeing if they're cool. But even then, I'm probably not gonna I'm definitely not watching stories like that. I'm not gonna watch a story.
Yeah, you're surveilling from a distance. I get that. It's interesting to me though, because like going back to the whole like crying thing, right? Like as a dude, yeah, I could see with another person in the car, my mom, my lady, even like my pops, my little brother, I might hold back them tears, right? I think but I've been riding in the whip just listening to music that's really hit me, and then boom, just start crying, listening to Kanye West, crying listening to Meek Mill. You know what I'm saying? Like really, really like, and you know I'm aware that it's something that's built up. I'm aware that I've been carrying whatever it is, and it's coming out because I really connect with music and something about riding in the car. But I allow myself to cry in those moments. So I'm interested by that aspect of like, would you have let yourself cry? And you related it back to the conversation of texting, saying like, well, my inner voice polices me so much that I wouldn't respond in that way. And like on my end, I feel the same thing, right? Like in that regard, where I will let myself cry if I'm in a car by myself, I do police myself a lot when it comes to texting, when it comes to what I put out there. Like everything almost gets pictured as a screenshot before I send it out. No cap. Like I'll be on my phone, like, all right, like even in an emotional situation, like thinking about what I said and then just look at it in the box, like, Now, if somebody screenshotted that, like, am I still that guy? You know what I'm saying?
No, but like that goes and like I love the conversation about allowing ourselves to cry, especially as black men, right? There's a great conversation to have on that. But again, on the texting and reaching out thing, it's wanting to maintain and preserve that certain elements of cool. And also, you know, I don't want to ever be a man that's pressing a woman. I don't want to ever be a man that's bothering a woman. Also, you want to give people space to heal. You want to give people space to be able to come into their own with their emotions and whatnot. I think we got some comments in the comment section coming in. It says, I think for the Zwe guy, that's me, I'm Zwe guy, it's important to know that you don't want to bore people, friends, family, with bringing in many women and being in so many relationships that when you eventually get it right, nobody cares anymore. You still want to be able to get people to genuinely be happy you found it and not say, oh, here we go again. And I think that's real. Thank you.
That's important. That's important for your support system, not to exhaust them, right? Not to be like, yeah, man. And that's an awareness in yourself, right? To know, when am I only satisfying my current need at the time? When am I looking for somebody who can feed into that? And when am I entering into a partnership that necessitates, right? If I can get in my vocab game, a partnership that necessitates bringing in my family and friends for both support and both for their opinions on this person, that can be tiring. That's good.
Nah.
Man. You got the best. Look at the audience, man. Add it to the content. I love it. This is beautiful, man.
But you said something, Miles, that I really want us to get into, right? Which is about, and we stumbled upon it.
Yo, I don't want my name under this caption, fam. I'm so open to the conversation, but I don't. Oh man, that's out there now.
Wow. Come on, Miles. This is the topic.
Yeah, well, shorty and them, meet your heart out, man.
For the listeners, Miles has titled this episode "Let Black Boys Cry Over Their Exes." Great title. But letting black boys cry. So there's been a lot of conversation around around just black masculinity and allowing and when is the right time for black boys to cry and whatnot, right? I, for one, am somebody that doesn't cry very often, although I do believe that I'm emotionally in tune with myself. And I do believe that I allow myself to feel the full depth and breadth of what my emotions are, right? You are somebody that has taught me how to cry, not to put it like any other way. Let me preface this with the situation.
What's
right?
that? What's up? Teach me how to love. Is that who? I wish I knew who sang that. So put that.
Miles wants to teach me. You want to teach me how to love, Miles? Is that what you're saying?
I want to teach everybody who is bottling up their emotions how to express them. If that can be categorized as that, then for sure that.
Check this out, right? Me and you, we're in India, and I don't know if I ever told you this story, but we're in India. It's a beautiful setting. We're there for a wedding. It's absolutely, we're enamored in the situation. We're in a beautiful hotel celebrating the beautiful matrimony of our friends, and we're listening to incredible music. And at that moment, you sat down and very pensively just thought to yourself, and you just allowed yourself to express through your tears how joyful of a moment that was. And I remember one of our friends was like, "Well, I was crying." I was like, "Man, this is such a beautiful moment." And I was inspired by that, right? I saw that. I was like, "Damn, bro, that really is powerful." Vulnerable and powerful. You see what I did there? But that really is that really is powerful, right? I think you might not literally need the physical tears to roll down your face, because there's times where I feel like that's the emotions that I'm feeling, where it's like, cool, outside of tears coming down my face, I am crying.
Speak on it. Poetry snaps for that. That's
Come
the
on,
new
baby.
That's the title of the episode. That's too long. But outside of the tears, outside of that physical manifestation, I'm crying. I think that relates to a lot of us, man. And I think there is really something powerful to be said about not expecting that physical manifestation, being put in a position where you're feeling the weight of any different type of emotion that might arise, whether that's grief, whether that's anger, whether that's sadness, right? And just feeling like you're expected to, and especially if that becomes public, you're expected to cry, or maybe you're expected to respond a certain way. And what's more important is to just allow yourself to feel what you're feeling, right? Like just no matter how it looks. And that's where that support system comes back in. Is you need people that are willing to accept you in that emotional honesty, that are willing to look at you when maybe your emotions don't make sense, and to help you talk through them. You know, I know me personally, there's a lot of situations where that are really sad that I responded to with humor, right? You know,
give me some examples.
Even like my parents splitting up, right? Like to me, and part of this is definitely a middle child thing, right? I think to whatever extent that really exists, but there was definitely a time when I felt like, yeah, I was the one who was supposed to be the, you know, but we'll be fine. We'll like the glue in a certain sense. And I think part of that is always making light of things, trying to find the silver lining and trying to convey that in a way that makes people want to smile or laugh or see that brighter side of things. And you have to still, and my lesson in that was that I still have to find space to internalize whatever sadness I might be feeling about that, right? Whatever hurt. Because there's nothing wrong with, you know, reacting with humor, but if you're not really addressing what's going on, then that's when it's a problem.
With the reacting off of humor thing, right? I was reading that there's a few types of responses that people have to fight or flight responses, right? One of those things is you can cry, obviously fight or flight, and then there is laughter that comes into play. Also dancing. There's some people who dance their way out of like the difficult situations. Not like I'm interpretive dance, but I mean like literally a car accident happens and nigga will start pop locking. that's real.
No.
That's a real story. That's a real story, man. And so I guess off of that human tip, I think more so that has to do with the maturity of being able to have perspective, bro. Like the maturity of being able to see situations and understand that although things are terrible right now, there's a lot of opportunity for this to be just for this moment, and no matter what, things will get better eventually, you know. So that's there. Allow me to pop lock my way out of this.
Nah, that's beautiful, man. That's beautiful because and like it just comes back to being able to accept that people's reactions, you know what I mean? Like especially the people you care about, you know, and just let people come to you as they are with what they're dealing with. And it comes back to a conversation we have on this podcast all the time, is having that conversation of like, yo, how are you? And not expecting the answer to be I'm fine. And also finding spaces where you feel comfortable telling the truth, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you're not fine, where are the spaces where you can answer the question of how are you honestly, and practice doing that.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Listen, man, we done given people a whole lot. Miles has cried over his exes. Listen, Miles's exes, if any of you are watching this, holla at my boy, man. He's going through it.
Please don't. please do not. And that's not in this context. Not because you started the podcast. All right. Wait till my birthday, Miles, like we do every year. All right. Yeah, how's that?
Yo,
fresh content?
One of these days we'll have to talk about why birthdays and Christmases are dangerous for relationships. But Miles, we have a show to go, and we have a whole lot of very compelling content that we need to be able to give these people. Thank you to everyone that's commenting, man. We really appreciate it. We asked one thing.
Yeah, I get that, but is we live though? Is we like all the way live though?
Share,
hey, man.
Like, comment, subscribe. If you think it's worth $1, just like it. You don't even have to send us $1, man. There's no better deal than that.
Indeed. Yo, we got some pretty interesting current news topics, right? Which is off of the bat of a lot of the stuff that we've been talking about over in previous episodes, just regarding, I think the first time we had this conversation was when you came back from London, and we had a conversation about how it felt to go to a London museum, and we were both like, it is incredible. The feeling you get when you go into a London museum, bro, is like, yo, these people have stolen so many goods, you know. So this is an article that we're able to come across over the week.
In the Benin-ging, I saw this article, right? And I was like, it was really interesting. Like, at first I was like, that's dope. You know what I mean? But, well, actually, not even but. That is dope. To return artifacts to where they're supposed to be, especially after they've been removed from that space via colonization, is only right. Right? That is the baseline for beginning to be able to heal. Is taking accountability and returning what was stolen. So I do want to commemorate that. But there's a deeper conversation here about the ways in which white power structures and any type of colonial power structure that has benefited from plundering other countries, like, what are the things that you're willing to give up and the things that you're not, right? Museums and artifacts, that's great. That is important. That's art, that's history, that allows people to connect to their culture. But there's also systemic things in place that just remain like unchipped away at, if I can put it the best way I can put it right now. You know what I'm saying? And it seems like it's.
What do you mean by that?
I want us to be able to get what's ours back is like the bottom line, but I want to keep in perspective that so much systemic harm has been done, and there's so much that needs to be done to help countries, to hold the countries that participated in colonialism accountable, that has so much more to do with policy and legislation than the returning of artifacts. And so I want to keep both things in perspective.
So I had a very interesting conversation this week, right? And shout out to my boy George in Turkey, which is an island town in the south of England. Had the privilege of spending a day with him over there. Showed me around. It was pretty great. And one of the things that we're able to bring up is that there's Greek marble. There's Greek marble architectural designs from back in the Caesar days, right? That were taken by the United Kingdom hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years ago. They took that I believe the particular term of it was the front facing pillars and arch, right? So if you think about it, it would be, let's say, the front door and the pillars, right, of a large Greek building. Took that, put it into a museum right now, and those have since then been able to be almost like the outline of which British buildings are built on, right? So a lot of now British designs look like that first type of Greek structure, right? It has now become ingrained into UK architectural history. Cool. Now there's been a lot of drawback now from Greece and people from Greece who are saying that they want those marble statues back, and then you have a lot of people from the UK saying, yeah, but not only have we taken better care of them, they're now part of our history. This is now our history as well, right? When I hear that, it made me think about where I'm from, South Africa, where you have a lot of white natives, right, who, when questioned about where they're from and where their history is ingrained into the country. That is, they are from South Africa, and you cannot, and it's their roots are there, their home is there, and they're buried there the whole night, right? But then there's obviously other South Africans who look at it like, nah, you guys are outsiders who are living in this country and you're outside. So when I see this, it almost triggers that same type of conversation about where, obviously with the African thing, come on, guys, give niggas back their things. I'm all the way for that. Let me not stray away from that. But that was a conversation that I had this weekend that I thought was quite interesting and fitted into the question of where does ownership of something start, and at what point does it make sense to be able to give it back to somebody?
Well, I think it makes all the sense in this case, right? What would be the argument for what would be the argument for Germany to keep, or any country to keep, like if something was created as art anywhere within Africa, and then during the process of either colonial intervention or post-colonial intervention, where somebody, because of a diluted infrastructure, was able to come in and loot or raid, or Laura Croft was able to come in and do her thing, zip line up out of there with a whole bunch of treasure chests of jewels, right? At what point what is their leg to stand on in saying that they shouldn't have a responsibility to return them?
Yeah. Off of the Laura Croft, I can't believe they try to promote that white woman stealing all of this all of this artifacts to us like it was cool.
Yeah, for sure. Indiana Jones, like, wait a minute. What about let's land acknowledgement that, right? But
let's land acknowledge Laura Croft.
But there's an interesting conversation here, I think, about like, this is a museum, right, deciding to return this art, right? But it's not a policy. And that's what I was saying at the beginning, is like, I want it written into policy that if any institution is found to be holding like ancient artifacts that got there by some type of theft, whether that is immediate modern theft or in the process of colonialism, that they have a due diligence to seek out the people, the indigenous people, or the people whom that was taken from, and provide an opportunity to give that back.
Yeah. I mean, it's again, look, this is a question that I asked, Miles. Would it be better if they paid people this money, right? Would it be better if they paid the countries that they took this money from and said, listen, this is the value of this stuff. We're going to keep it here because we've housed it. It is now part of this museum's infrastructure. Or better to say, here's some money, take it and go back. There's some cash for it. We're paying you for it. And this is what we're keeping.
No. And here's why, right? Because if that is in the country where it was made, then the people who now live there have greater access to it. They can go to their local museum and see this art that is a representation of great work and great things done by their people, which itself instills a sense of self-worth and a sense of history and a sense of connection to culture. That's where it should be and can do the most good. So I think absolutely that, like, it's not, there's something about having that history of your own art and your own people in your homeland, where the people that are growing up that are disconnected to that culture by time, but connected to it by blood and connected to it by history, have an ability to go and see it that you can't monetize.
Yeah. I think history is power. You know what I mean? History is power. Listen, man, we have a whole show that we have all the excitement for about getting into this hip hop talk. Thank you, Miles, for bringing this forward to us. Allow me to walk us into our favorite part of this show. Yep.
Recommended and review.
Hey, Miles, we got a whole lot of hip hop that we need to talk between each other. One of our favorite artists, one of our absolute favorite artists, just dropped an album. Mick Jenkins just dropped Elephant in the Room. If you're not familiar with Mick Jenkins is a Chicago rapper. He is one of the rappers that we have been following for a particularly long time. Very, very excited once I saw this album. There's so much to say about it. There's so much to speak on it. The first thing that brings me excitement about this is that it forces us to have it allows us to have the conversation about the value of Chicago hip hop at the moment. it allows us to have the conversation of Chicago hip hop at the moment, which is
Value
something
is
that,
high. Value is
hey man,
wild high for sure.
listen, and some podcasts have New York bias, some podcasts have Atlanta bias, you know, some podcasts have bias from all sorts of different places. It's important that y'all know that Chicago biases is what we bring to this podcast. Miles,
It
you see the
is.
flag behind my brother?
It is a Chicago bias, but with all right, with Dirk where he's at, I don't even think we need bias to say the value of Chicago rap is high, right? Where rest in
Are
peace,
they
Mom was
building
at,
Chicago rap outside of your house right now?
they are definitely building Chicago rap outside of my house right now, for sure. And like, it's. I don't think it's a stretch to say that the value is high.
It is. The value is super, super high for building Chicago. For building Chicago rap, the value is very high in Chicago rap. I mean, the dichotomy of Chicago's rap scene, right, is that you have obviously the very gangster side of it with King Von, Dirk, King Von, Dirk. You had how about forgetting the main one, Big Homie, Dirk, Von Herb, G Herbo. There you go. All spurring from the Chief Keef movement, right? Ever since the Chief Keef movement took off, motivated by Kanye. If you don't know, Kanye obviously from Chicago, and then the Don't Like video dropped in about 2012. Since the Don't Like video dropped in 2012, drill music not only has pushed itself past just the Chicago streets, but has been popularized all over. Now, people in the UK will very much claim that drill music started there, and you do have to give it to them that drill music did start there. And the current contemporary drill sound that we're hearing, hey Miles, don't let me fight you, bro. And these mans is outside of my house, isn't it, bro?
The current contemporary sound maybe started there, but the original sound, the drill music, started in Chicago.
Listen. That's why I said current contemporary, but you'd be hard pressed to convince anybody from the UK that drill music started anywhere outside of here.
I don't know if that's true. I feel like I've seen a lot like there's grime specific, right? But in terms of drill music, I feel like I've always seen UK drill and grime artists give it up to Chicago as the basis for that sound. Maybe I'm tripping, but I feel like I've always seen that respect given. I would be flabbergasted to see otherwise when you have artists even before Chief Keef, right, that were creating that sound.
So the current drill sound, which is the very popular sound, and the drill sound right now is the Pop Smoke sound, for lack of a better reference, right? Because that is the ubiquitous sound that has taken over the Pop Smoke hip hop sound, right?
Yeah.
That derives, again, draw that line back into the drill music that came from Chicago. All to say, since that period of time, you had Chicago from that spring, you have Vaughn, you had Dirk, you have G Herbo, you have Lil Reese, you have Young Chop on the beat, who all pushed this sound up into stardom to a particular point, and then Atlanta does what Atlanta usually does, which is step over absolutely everybody at that time, and then the Chicago drill sound kind of mellowed out a little bit. In that mellowing out moment, which brings us to this album, we saw an incredible spur of creativity. In that spur of creativity, we had not Chief Keef, we had Chance the Rapper that came out. We had No Name, we had Saba, we had Vic Mensa, we had Mick Jenkins,
we had Joey Perp,
we had Tokyo, we had the Save Money movement. There was a huge movement of this pseudo backpack rap sound coming out of Chicago. Also on the jazz side, you had Bad Bad Not Good, who is a frequent collaborator with Mick Jenkins as well. Enter the Waters mixtape.
Fire.
Mick Jenkins' first EP. Enter the Waters mixtape, Mick Jenkins' first EP. All to set that scene to say that in the time that, all to say that in that time, the question of who was going to be the king of Chicago, the question, we weren't looking at drill music anymore. We're looking at this new creative collaborative sound that's coming out of Chicago. We're looking at Chance the Rapper, who was always the golden child and favorite to win. We're looking at Vic Mensa, who at that time was standing next to Kanye, standing next to Jay-Z. Ignored in all of this was Saba and Mick Jenkins. And to me, and I said it on this podcast and I'll say it live, Mick Jenkins has emerged as the coolest and the most creative of all of that bunch today.
Yeah, no argument for me. Mick Jenkins is like, coolest is the operative word too. And cool in the sense of like, Mick Jenkins clearly is consistently making the type of music that Mick Jenkins wants to make without concern for where the current hip hop wave is pushing to, right? And this album, Elephant in the Room, is kind of like, it's a beautiful expression of confidence in the sense that I feel like the waters and the healing component were all, they worked. Everything about those concepts worked for me, but they were very heavy-handed in delivering that message. And he's reached this point where even on his previous albums, having spoken word interludes, trying to create the type of vibe he wanted his music to have, right? Now that vibe is thoroughly entrenched in the music. That spoken word vibe, that thoughtful, introspective. If I can compare him to, an artist that's having maybe a broader appeal that people can connect to, there's a very Isaiah Rashad-ish quality to the looseness of the topic that he might be talking about, right? But the way that he has insisted upon intellectuality. Dang, man. You know what I'm saying? Clearly I'm not
nailed it, bro. Take your time, baby. Take your time.
Clearly I'm not mixing up the words like Mick, you know what I'm saying? But the way that he's insisted upon intellectuality in his art is incredible and coolest. Like, I love it. I love watching him persevere and continue to hone his sound without trying to be Chance, without trying to dabble into the drill shit. Like, he's just doing his thing, and it's beautiful to watch.
It's absolutely beautiful to watch. I hope this doesn't get us kicked off of I hope this doesn't get us demonetized again.
Whoa.
I'm trying not to get us demonetized.
It's YouTubeception.
It's YouTubeception. But all to say though, right? I love the point that you made, Miles, on Mick Jenkins veering away from the initial concept that he was pushing, right? So for long-term Mick Jenkins fans, and this is a super nerdy hip-hop conversation that we're having right now, but hey, man, listen, if you're a fan, then you understand what we're saying, right? The Waters, right? The first mixtape / LP came out, The Waters, where he introduced this concept of the waters. It was a prevailing theme, arc and direction in concept of what his message was. It all revolved around the waters. I remember seeing Mick Jenkins live in 2016, where it all revolved around, again, the waters. He'd say, drink more, the crowd would reply, water, drink more, water, which is something that we kept on saying. A very, very dope concept, right? A super, super, super dope concept, and taking it into so many different layers, into a trilogy, ending it with the Healing Component, right? The Healing Component dropping in 2017. That was the last album of that trilogy. In my opinion, the third best Mick Jenkins album. First one being The Waters, second one being this one that we're hearing now, and then the third one being the Healing Component with Elephant in the Room. So with the Healing Component, it was almost a ribbon on that The Waters theme. And even though I appreciated that theme, like you said, I'm so glad that he left it in order to be able to pursue a lot more looser theme, a lot more looser content and ideas around the music that he's made. That's when we started hearing that drowning was bad, not good. You know, that's when we started seeing him release a little bit more of just sticking into trying to fit things very artistically and very well into the Waters box, and then having him just rap about life and having him rap about all this other fly stuff and introduce the art elements of it, which he's really good at doing. So hearing this album, man, I really, really enjoyed this. This is one of I enjoyed this over The Circus, which was his last giving.
What was the album with the cover with the broken pieces of glass?
Pieces of a Man is also a very, very, very good album too, man. This dude he's consistent with it. He's super, super consistent. Pieces of a Man.
I think this actually on first listen is my favorite Mick Jenkins project. I need to go back and listen to, was it the Circus, the kind of the EP that led up to this, Elephant in
Yep.
the Room. I'm sure there are some connections there, knowing Mick and how he likes to get deep and make connections in his music. But this was really just seemed like a crystallized version of him doing what he knows how to do and letting the music speak for itself. He's so good at capturing the things that we say in conversation. Like, even there are too many heads on this, right? Like, there's the way that he is able to capture the vernacular and lay it out on the track is beautiful, and it doesn't feel forced. It doesn't feel like he's pushing for things to be catchy or memeable. He's just, it feels like that's truly coming out of him, man. So some of my highlights from this album, the intro track, The Valley of the Shadow of Death, very just like conveying his ability to talk about Black issues without being preachy, just being observant, right? Almost in a Baldwin-esque way over beats. And then Gucci Tried to Tell Me, just another his ability to put songs together, his ability to create like something that feels effortless, but is also has so much musical integrity is amazing. And then is This Cigarettes is probably one of my, like, I love the whole thing. I love the whole joint, man. This is a 4 out of 5 for me if I can jump the gun and give my score. But I rock with this heavy, man. Mick Jenkins, Elephant in the Room. Zway, what you think? Highlights, bro?
Super solid, man. You know, who's that one X-Man that is able to shape shift and change colors and fit into any space?
Shift and change colors, and
the blue one.
Mystique is the one that can change and be anybody, but Nightcrawler is the one that can jump to wherever he want to go.
I think Mick Jenkins is the Nightcrawler of hip hop, bro. I think Mick Jenkins really is the Nightcrawler of hip hop. When you see what he's doing to the K-Tronada sounds, right? When you see him jump into this electro side, and then you see him jump into the lo-fi alternative beats on Da P off of that Lemonade, and you see him being able to then dive into for instance on Truffles, which is a more trap beat and whatnot, right? Like, I think this dude really is super talented in what he can do. Like you said, the Valley of the Shadows of Death, is it? And then Contacts for me is one of my favorite songs right now. Truffles as well, Is the Cigarettes. Super solid album. I'm giving this a 4 out of 5. Undoubtedly, this is one of the more favorite listens that I've heard this year.
Yeah, man.
King of the new school. I'll crown him now king of the new school
over Boogie.
See, this is the conversation that we get to, right? The conversation it's who is the king of the new school, because now we can already crown the three-headed leaders of Westeros and the beyond. You know, you have Cole, Kendrick, and Drake. Solidified whatever it is, but they're now old and fat and sitting on their couch and sitting on their thrones. And then somewhere out there's a young Jon Snow who's out there just slicing away, right? And who those people are to me at the moment. Mick Jenkins is one of those people. Saba is one of those people. Boogie. I don't want to put Reason in there, but Boogie I'm putting into that fight. Those three.
You a hater. You put Saba in there over Reason?
Definitely putting Saba over Reason.
You're a hater.
Saba's had better albums. Saba's had better albums than Reason, bro.
You're a hater.
Saba's had better albums than Reason.
I love Saba, but in terms of like, if you're saying who you like, but if you're saying in terms of who's got the audience and who's got the intention and who's lined up to be in that position, I don't see Saba as being closer to that position, even if that's an industry thing, than Reason.
Who's better is my question.
I think, well, that's a difficult question, but I don't know who's if better? But that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm trying to do is separate those two questions. There's a question of who you might think is a better rapper, but there's also a question of, if you look at the industry landscape, if you're talking about who's being propositioned as those three people, I think it's very difficult to make an argument that Saba, whose label I'm not sure, is in a better position to be that than TDE signed Reason, who got Schoolboy Q, J Rock, SZA, Rhapsody on his last album.
both of us need to never have another conversation about hip hop because we did forget who the actual king of the new school is, which is Rashad, right?
I didn't
Rashad is.
I was getting there. I was just addressing all of your individual blasphemous comments while I wanted.
but this
I'm
is
wearing an Isaiah Rashad t-shirt. How was not gonna forget Isaiah Rashad?
is that an Isaiah Rashad t-shirt you're wearing?
This is the Little Sunny. This is the house is burning t-shirt, my G. This is not a game.
Oh, damn. Listen, but all to say, right? All to say, Rashad to me is the king of the new school.
That's not
Saba is a bit. Saba has.
That sounded clout nasty. I'm sorry for that.
Saba has better albums than Reason, is why I'm putting it there. And if there's an open spot for honorable mention, I put Saba in that spot before I put Reason in that spot.
That's hey man, that's each to each his own. But then there's this interesting conversation if we're talking like, yeah, if you're talking about who the lyrical next people up are, I would say, because there's a question about who you think is the best, and there's a question about who's propped up in that position. JID to a lot of people is that guy. JID just off of the Dreamville. To a lot of people, JID is that guy. JID is that guy, and I would say that Boogie is underappreciated still, I think. And so I would say there's a difference between the ones that you would pick and the ones that are next up in that new school.
Yeah.
Because there's also there's a conversation to be had about, okay, so then what are you putting Lil Durk, NBA Youngboy, and Lil Baby?
You see, but like that's the thing though, is that whenever we have these conversations about hip hop, we have to move away from the most popular to, and obviously all conversations about hip hop are always going to be subjective, right? It's always going to be subjective to what niche, genre, or lane of hip hop that you follow. The king of my new school, which is different from what the next generation is. When you're talking Durk, Baby, and you're talking Youngboy, and you're talking Uzi, you're talking about a generation that's after me. You're not talking about the people. Them niggas is younger than me. So you talking about niggas that is after me. You know what I mean?
Saba's younger than you too, though. I think Saba is like Mick Jenkins.
We're the same age.
As these
we're all the same. We're all the same age. We're older than Durk. We're older than Durk.
We're the same. They're all the same age. I'm pretty sure. We're all late 20s. Durk, Baby, like Mick Jenkins, Saba. I'm pretty sure we're all late 20s. Maybe the audience is a little bit younger, but you can't say that they're a different generation of rapper. I don't think that's fair.
Fair. But like their audience is a different generation, is all I'm saying. Their audience is a different generation. Maybe. Who Uzi, Durk, and Young Boy Never Broke Again, who their focus audience is, that's not for me. That's not music that's speaking particularly to my palate. That's what I'd call TikTok music, right? So it's yeah, man. It's a hip hop right now is at a very exciting place, and it's very difficult to have a conversation of who's best because it starts to become ageist a bit.
Maybe, but I think we're showing our age if you think Durk is just TikTok music, because I think Durk has a very solidified place in the broad spectrum of hip hop, even just kids that are listening to music in their headphones, right? Like, yeah. But if you want to talk about who's the best lyrically, right? Who's making the best art hip hop wise in terms of like the new school, then I'm happy to put Isaiah there. I'm happy to put Kenny Mason there, right? As a dark horse of somebody who, I think Kenny Mason's got some. You want to talk about albums? You might not like the metal sound of Angelic Hood Rap, but if you want to talk about somebody who can put together an artistic album, boy, I don't know how many can contend with that. And I'd put Reason there, because I think Reason has shown that Reason can make all different types of songs. When it comes to body of works, I love what Saba's put together, and he might be my honorable mention. But there you have it. And New Beginnings have a polished, like something just in them that makes me feel like you can create a different level of music that can be Kendrick-esque in its ability to be deep, but also reach a lot of people. And that's what I'm looking. That's what puts Boogie ahead of him. Even to me, is that Boogie has that even more, right? And
Yeah.
so I don't know, man.
They're gonna kill us on this conversation because we didn't mention Travis Scott. We didn't mention any of the people that are dominating. So I think maybe the better question is King of the Underground, right? I think the conversation that we're having is King of the New Underground, not so much King of New School. Because King of New School, you have your Travises, you have
But
these
this
dudes who are and your Dirks and whatnot.
I can put Travis in like when people talked about like the top 3, right? And that's something we've come back to a bunch of times in hip hop of like the previous generation. They go Kendrick, Cole, Drake, and then Kanye, who isn't with Hove and DMX and Nas, right? Kind of gets put in his own because he's the producer guy. He makes this incredible music, and I think Travis is firmly kind of assumed that seat of like he doesn't need to be in that top 3 conversation to be extremely relevant, to be able to do things that no other artist can do, but he's almost not comparable because he's not really trying to rap in the same way. He's not even in the lyrical conversation, not because he's not able to put together dope lyrics, but because he doesn't really have an interest in dropping a freestyle to tell other rappers that he's a better lyrical miracle rapper than they do. Than they are.
Then in that case, then you'd get a lot of pushback for Tyler the Creator fans who feel like he is somebody that dominates in that. And if we're talking about the king of new age, the popular king of sound, then definitely I'd include Tyler in that fight. I'd include Travis in that fight. I'd put that in there. But if we're looking more underground, we're talking Vince Staples, Mick Jenkins, and obviously this is an underground podcast for the most part. So please don't kill us when we talk about who the top is. We ain't really looking at the top of the billboards like that.
Big facts, big facts. Yeah, gotta big up Vince. There's a lot of dope music that's happening. I still, the conversation has always been like, no matter how old I am, I've always heard from other people, man, hip hop ain't the same. It's still there, man. And this Mick Jenkins album is high evidence of that. The Little Sims, Sometimes I Might Be Introvert album is high evidence of that. There are people making very, very artistic hip hop out there. Still, go get that, go enjoy that. We've named a bunch of them. Saba Bucket List Project, Saba, what's the second one called? Prom King? No, that's that.
Life. Care for me. Incredible album. Care for me.
Yeah, man. Isaiah Rashad, The House is Burning. Isaiah Rashad, The Sun's Tirade. Put you some good music on Sunday, man.
Hey, man, listen, and if you got somebody that you care about, make sure you let them know that you care about them. Tomorrow ain't really promised like that. If you got people in your life that need that uplifting, be that person and give them that uplifting. Mr. Miles Xavier, you're definitely one of those people to me. I appreciate that. And because I appreciate you and you appreciate me, we said we'd come on this show to do one thing only, which is give the people a space, even if for a moment, a little bit of positivity, even if for a moment, a little bit of conversation to uplift their day, because we know, man, we know.
Yeah, we know that you could be anywhere in the world, man, but you in tune with us, man. You in tune with us through some technical difficulties. You in tune with us through some audio difficulties. You in tune with us as we stumble through what we've stumbled upon, man. This is the show where we try and make sense of what we're seeing out there in the world and try and be vulnerable, take on tough conversations. So we appreciate y'all rocking with us, man. We hope that you see the advancements, the progress that's being made, and all of the different like the segments and how we're switching things up, adding audio visuals to make this a beautiful experience. Whether you on SoundCloud, YouTube, Apple Music, Stitcher, Spotify, wherever you might be, we want you to like, comment, and subscribe because this is still the ground floor of something that's going to be amazing, man. I think we are coming to a place where we're going to be able to hit 2022 with some crazy, consistent, carefully curated content for y'all's cranium through the celebration of celebrating, through the celebration of life, through the celebration of how good it feels to be Black. Don't it feel good, Zway?
It feels incredible. And if you got any place where you can help people, make sure you help people wherever you can, man.
Yep. Help comes in all shapes and sizes. Sometimes it just means making sure that you share a meal, eating something delicious, or hugging somebody you love. And like that, peace, water, we gone.